Welcome to UC Today. My name is David Dungay. I have with me today another David Abosch from Kurmi. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, David. Very pleased to be here.
Excellent. Right, well, the title of today's show is Unleash Your UC Potential with UC Management. Let's kick off with a bit of an introduction, David. Tell us a little bit about yourself and Kurmi and what you do.
Right. So Kurmi is a software company that provides a platform for basically to enable companies to automate a large part of their day-to-day administration and management of their UC platforms, particularly if they are, say, working with more than one vendor. It provides a sort of single pane of glass to manage a multi-vendor environment.
Excellent. So, I mean, why is UC management so important in today's environment? How's that impacting the adoption of technology, particularly over the last sort of 12 months, a very strange 12 months we've all had?
Yeah, it has been a strange 12 months. I mean, remote working is nothing new. I think that's something that a lot of people have been doing for quite some time, and it's something that's been growing. But I think when the pandemic hit, there were suddenly all sorts of people that thought they couldn't work from home, or that didn't work from home or remotely. They did. So call center staff, traders and investment banks, all sorts of people that were accustomed to being in the office suddenly couldn't be, and businesses had to react very quickly and find some means of giving them a way of communicating from home. So really what's happened over the past 12 months is it's just really accelerated this whole trend of remote working to virtually anyone who's got, from a sort of from kind of knowledge workers to anyone with a phone or a PC is now able to work remotely. And I think in terms of management platforms, I think those companies that have got some kind of platform have been able to be fairly agile and deploy something quickly and react quickly. Whereas, I guess if you haven't had that advantage, you might have been able to do something quick and dirty, but might have had to forego some of the usual rigors around, say, security or doing things in a kind of strategic and well thought out way.
Yeah, I think quick and dirty, as you put it. I think a lot of people knee-jerked to that sort of straight off the bat in March 2020. It was just a case of getting people home, wasn't it? To be honest.
Exactly. So it was needs must, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I mean, we're seeing the importance of UC management really rise. Personally, and at UC Today, we're talking about this a lot. People are now sort of trying to hone their propositions now, if you like. They've got their workforce remote. It's how do I make that better? So it's really become like optimizing their sort of UC and collaboration environments has become a sort of a big topic for us as well.
Sure. And of course, having now gone remote, a lot of people don't want to go back into the office full time again. So it's becoming even when all this is over, it's kind of the new normal that people are going to have to, they're going to want to be able to connect in and communicate from anywhere and often from any device.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about, you mentioned security there. Let's talk about maybe some of those risks. One risk we've spoken about previously, shadow IT. What is the situation with shadow IT in this current environment? Is that a real risk still in this sort of hybrid, remote world we're in?
Yeah, it's interesting. So again, in a lockdown environment, I think suddenly everyone outside of work has started having Zoom calls for quizzes, for exercise classes, and for everything else. And people have got comfortable with that kind of technology. But that said, I don't think we're in a space where the sort of enterprise applications are inferior to consumer ones, which is kind of a situation we may have had, say, with mobile phones or with laptops, a few years ago, where people thought, well, actually, I've got a much better device at home. Why would I want to use the company's device? So, it is there is a bit of that risk out there, particularly with people having their own devices a lot of time, their own software loaded on those devices. But I think the key is for businesses to make sure that the secure, the approved, the vetted software has been properly provisioned to the people that need to use it, and that kind of mitigates the risk of any kind of shadow IT or people doing things under the radar. You've got the right software and you're able to quickly deploy it to the people who need it, then that risk is greatly diminished.
Yeah, I mean, looking back over 2020, security was a big theme. We saw some of the big vendors have a few troubles earlier on in the year. From your point of view, I mean, did you see a marked uptick, if you like, in breaches? We saw the big headline ones, but do you see that in sort of regular businesses as well?
I don't think we've seen that. I mean, in terms of sort of enterprise UC platforms and how they're deployed, I don't think 2020 has really been any different than any other year. If I suppose for our customers who are able kind of just to deploy things in a way that they've already sort of set out and kind of templated, there isn't really any additional risk there. I think it is, where people are downloading their own software to their machines and using means of communicating that are kind of maybe unapproved, where we see a risk. But I mean, I think the main vendors that we deal with, the Microsofts, the Ciscos, the Avayas of this world, I think have got security, pretty well taken care of for the most part.
Sure. Okay. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of businesses at the moment with, quite a few elements of technology in their business, shall we say, at the moment. Where does this management of UC sit, I guess, in the list of those businesses' priorities right now? Are we going to see a lot of businesses, really struggle to grapple with the different elements people have deployed within their business?
Yeah, I think a lot of UC technology, even if it's provided as a service, can be labour intensive to manage and administer. Quite a lot of it does involve a fair amount of fairly specialised skills and knowledge. And it's therefore costly in terms of resource to manage. If you're running 2 or 3 different UC platforms, and that cost is multiplied. So what companies like Kurmi aim to do is to sort of simplify that, and really the end goal is to go for being able to do what we call a zero touch provisioning, so that everything in terms of getting your UC, your unified communications, your collaboration, your contact center stuff, your voicemail, all your related type of features and services to the user, it is basically taken care of and automated, or the request can be delegated to the user via an ITSM like a ServiceNow. They put in a request, and there's a whole workflow in the background that runs. They can talk to the different platforms to get the user what they need. And we're seeing, I think it's been really interesting at Microsoft's decision to provide Teams as part of their basic Office 365 package. So any company that deploys Office 365 has sort of de facto Teams users, and I've seen a lot of companies that have got investments in other UC technologies, and their users have got, they're using Teams for internal meetings or peer-to-peer calling or IAM and presence. And if they use it, the expectation is that IT is going to support it, and there's costs there. So the aim with a management platform is basically to minimize the cost associated with that, also minimize the risk of errors, and also ultimately improve the user experience, because in the past, when a user puts in a service request for something and there's a big queue of thousands of other ones, there might be a 3-day lead time to provision something. If that's automated, it can be virtually instant, which is a big improvement in user experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Microsoft, it's it's almost the Trojan horse in a lot of businesses, isn't it? It's but those costs, if you don't look out, they can quickly mount up. So, okay, let's talk about unique solutions, or best of breed. Why do businesses still need these unique solutions, and do customers need in-house skills to really manage these systems?
Again, it kind of depends. Every company and every sort of industry have their own sort of requirements. If you look at like an industry like banking, that's subject to a lot of regulation. There are a lot of calls that need to be recorded, for example, and those recorded calls need to be saved for a certain amount of time, depending on the jurisdiction. And all that needs to be managed and stored in a certain way. So that's a fairly unique solution. And again, I guess customers have to consider that their own customers and stakeholders and how they communicate with them, and a lot of that might determine what their solution is and how that it interoperates with other systems, so that they can collaborate with their supply chain, with their customers. Or whichever.
Excellent. Okay. So looking ahead, we're in the UK here. We're just into lockdown number 3. I think we're not quite sure what's going to happen over the next 12 to 18 months, but hopefully we see some normality within there. What are your expectations for the coming year? And how's, from a business perspective, and how is Kurmi likely to address this with some of the developments you've got going on in-house?
I think Kurmi, what we need, the challenge we need to be up to is to be able to give businesses the ability to give their users the UC tools they need to do their jobs when they work from home, and to be able to do that in a fast and easy way that doesn't consume a lot of resource on their side. So, we're here to improve their productivity. We're here to reduce their cost and make them more effective. I think the other thing that seems to be accelerating is the whole trend towards cloud and towards UCaaS. So, we need to position itself also, and is positioned really to support different customers on different platforms, whether that's on-prem, in the cloud, or a hybrid of the two.
Yeah, I think the battle for cloud is over. No, isn't it a non-argument at this point?
It is, but not everyone is on the cloud yet. So how do you migrate from on-prem to the cloud? And do you need some tooling to automate that migration for you, for example? So it's still really pertinent for Kurmi to, in terms of a proposition for customers to say, right, as you say, the battle for cloud is over. That's where you're going to have to go to, because that's all there's going to be. We're there to help you get there.
Well, look, David, it's been great to talk to you today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, David.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay, on UC Today.